Welcome to a new Very Bad Wizards bonus series, not a TV show. We're going to film for this, and we're going to film noir, a genre that I know you love.
So much. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah. And, as you often note, you were not a huge film buff, but even I feel like when you weren't a huge film buff, you liked film noir.
Always. And it was great because I would just not knowing anything about any of the context or anything, I would just Google what's a good film noir, and then I would just watch it cold. And I have a story about this film in particular and when I did that.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. So we're going to do a bunch of film noirs. The first one is Kiss Me Deadly, a Robert Aldrich movie from 1955, an adaptation of a Mickey Spillane novel of the same name. As we'll talk about, the movie has some, stark departures, both tonally and cosmically and plot-wise too, but also other elements where it's completely the same. So it's really interesting adaptation that way. Let's talk about what noir is. What I don't think we've ever talked about. What defines a film noir for you?
Well, like most things, I'm completely convinced that there are just a set of necessary and sufficient conditions that will outline
for sure
here and figure it all out. So, okay, I tried my best not to look up what the way that people define noir and just go off of my own vibes, but I did read a little bit. For me, it's like this, there's a visual style and aesthetic that's definitely part of it. That's at least for classic noir, it's black and white, shadows, lots of contrast. Mm-hmm. It's a real borrowing of the German expressionists kind of a style. And the vibe is dark too. So there's a pessimistic tone. There's a moral grayness, right? Nobody ever, even at the end when the protagonist might not die, but he certainly doesn't get what he might have wanted.
He might have left a lot of collateral damage.
A lot of collateral damage, right. And is just usually a loner and an unhappy person. And that gets to the thing. So the visual style, the moral grayness and pessimism, and then there's just archetypes like the private dick and the femme fatale, and the cops who, I don't know, sometimes they're on the take, sometimes they're trying to be the good guy.
And they're usually at loggerheads with the protagonist at some way. They're even if they're both in their own way are trying to do the right thing, they'll clash.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And sometimes they have because they're private detectives, they have relationships with the police already. Yep.
They're ex-cops that they refuse to be bought out or something like that. I think that's Sam Spade, although I don't remember for sure. Yeah. And I think there's also a lot of existential questions that get raised in noir movies. There's moral grayness all over the place, but also a real nihilism sometimes and at the very least a kind of a quest for meaning. I think this movie is exhibit A for a lot of that kind of stuff. There's also, the only thing I would add to what you said is, there's often or always a mystery and a crime.
Yeah.
And sometimes it starts out as just a normal, ordinary crime, but it often turns out to be a conspiracy of some kind. And the hero, the alienated hero who's trying to get to the bottom of it, will often find that he's way in over his head.
Right.
And he has no fucking idea. And, so there's a paranoia that is often at the heart of noir movies.
Yeah.
I love that element of it, of the hero who goes in playing by, even if he's hard-boiled and tough, he's going by ordinary conceptions of what's possible and what is good and what is bad, and often is just has all of that just exploded and it's his, I don't know, maybe we'll do Chinatown at some point, but it's him trying to get to the bottom of it that ends up hurting a lot of innocent people often.
Right. And so they often end up feeling just guilty. The end is that the protagonist is just feeling like shit because of all of the stuff that they caused.
Yeah.
Even though they were at least they convinced themselves that they were genuinely trying to get to the bottom of this for good reasons.
Yeah. This has a more morally ambiguous, or even just like more of an anti-hero than some noirs.
This film, Kiss Me Deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I want to talk about the departures from noir in this film specifically. But, one thing that I was going to say too is the plots are often just very complex. Like it's sort of in line with your mystery point. Like the mysteries, sometimes they're like, I don't want to say needlessly complex, but they are basically, I think they're giving the viewer this sense of like, holy shit, what is going on?
Yeah.
Right. Like there's so many pieces to this that it's more about the feeling that it's giving you than about the plot points specifically unraveling the mystery.
Yeah,
I think.
It's often like so convoluted. There's a famous story about The Big Sleep, which William Faulkner wrote the movie of The Big Sleep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a famous story as he's working on it, and he's working off of Raymond Chandler's books, the book The Big Sleep. He can't figure out who killed, I think it's the limo driver. And so he sends a telegram to Raymond Chandler saying, hey, I'm just trying to figure out, put everything together. But one thing I don't get is who killed the limo driver, assuming it's that. Like, who killed the limo driver? And he gets a telegram back from Chandler saying, I have no idea.
That totally makes sense. Even in this movie, I have some questions that I think there are no answers to.
Yeah, it really does become, I think they get so convoluted, and I think it's just to get this mood of what is going on, and that there's this dualism between this, the protagonist who knows all the angles, and he's been around the block, all the cliches, but then at the same time has no fucking clue what is actually going on,
Right. Some mix between a really good detective and an Inspector Clouseau, somewhere in between there. There's some tropes in at least classic noir that are a bit annoying. Like women are always falling in love with the male protagonist for apparently no reason. That just happens a lot. And I take it that's just from the books, like the source material was like that.
I don't find that annoying. I think it's fun. It's a fun trope.
It's just one of those wait, why? We'll see an instance of this in this movie where it's why are they making out?
Well, in this movie, I actually have a theory as to why it's happening in this movie. There's that. I feel like the staged car accident to actually murder someone is a noir trope.
Yeah, that's right.
There's always some kind of you make it look like an accident kind of thing that happens in noir. And then the femme fatale, I mean, it really did give some of the best roles for women, film noir. So while it's often misogynistic, this one, maybe might be called that, interpreted in a certain way. It just gives these amazing parts for female actresses. And, if you think of Barbara Stanwyck, you're probably thinking of her in Double Indemnity because she just sears a hole in your brain when you watch that.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
And then there's also neo-noir, but I don't think we can, unless you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe towards the end we might get to some neo-noir. We talked about ending with Inherent Vice. I would like to do Chinatown because you are on record saying you don't love that movie, and I just think
I changed my mind about it. I did not like it the first time I watched it, and now I'm a fan. Okay. It's not my favorite, but I'm a fan.
But I don't want to really talk about neo-noir. Neo-noir is essentially kind of self-conscious about being a noir movie, and they'll abandon certain elements. I don't know, a neo-noir that I don't love. In fact, I don't even really like it that much, but I get docked in my cinephile points is The Long Goodbye.
Oh God, I can't stand that one.
Yeah, the Robert Altman movie. And but partly that's because I love that book. I absolutely love that book.
That is, I think, the best of the genre. Like that one.
I agree. Yeah. And I just didn't appreciate what they did with it. And Elliot Gould, who I like, is great. Whatever, it just doesn't work for me. So that one is almost just subverting and undermining noir tropes. But then I think the neo-noirs that I like are just the ones that are a little more modern. They might be in color, like Chinatown or Inherent Vice, but they're pretty much doing noir with maybe some self-conscious references. And And I think noir kind of already does that in some ways. Like, I think you could make a case this is the first neo-noir, because there are so many tropes that are almost not winking at you, because that makes it sound like they feel superior, but like it very much knows what it's doing with those tropes.
You know, I just had the thought that the relationship between these pulp writers and these Hollywood movies is sort of like what the comic book industry has done for modern Hollywood. They used to have this just regular stream of source material that they could turn into these noirs. And that's how I feel like comic books are now, you know, not to the great success like some of the noir movies.
Not until the artistic achievements. Yeah, that makes sense. And also that it takes some of the best talent. Like, like now they're conscripted to do. Yeah. That was like how Faulkner felt. I think that's how, and Raymond Chandler is writing other. Oh, he wrote Double Indemnity, which was the James L. Cain. And like, they're all pissed and like alcoholics. Yeah. And it's just it's so great. Great genre. Probably my favorite genre.
Yeah. So good. So much good stuff came out. And there's a lot of just normal, not great stuff to watch that's worth watching.
Totally.
Like, that's what I love about it. You could just watch noir movies every weekend and you wouldn't run out, and they would be worth it.
Yeah. And some of them you will barely remember. Yeah, like I think I saw The Naked City and thought it was really good. Couldn't tell you the first thing about it, but but I thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
So should we name this series?
I would love to name it. I just didn't have any ideas, but it sounds like you might.
So right before we recorded, I thought, are we going to name the series? And the only thing that came to mind, so we need to work on this, is The Noirinators.
That might not work so well on this one.
The Noirinators? No. Yeah, okay. You thought something like Summer of Noir.
Yeah. In my head, I was just thinking that this would be our Summer of Noir. There's something that is, I think, appropriate in the sense that philosophers use the term appropriate in the vibe that we're getting from these noirs and just the vibe of the world.
Yes.
So that's why it feels like it's a good summer of noir.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
Dark summer. Our dark summer.
Dark summer. Noir summer.
We're open to suggestions.
We are. Noirinator? Maybe. Let's talk about Kiss Me Deadly. Directed by Robert Aldrich, as I said, written by A.I. Bezorides. Great script.
So good.
Based on the Mickey Spillane novel. Watch this movie, please. We're going to talk about it. We're going to spoil it from the very beginning. So if you haven't seen this, it's so well worth your time. If you trust us about anything, trust us about this.
Yes, I'm generally okay with spoilers, as you've heard me say before, but no, this one, watch it. No excuses. It's on YouTube for free. So
yeah. Do you want to give a quick rundown of the plot?
Yeah, very quick. This follows private investigator Mike Hammer, again, the Mickey Spillane character who's been in a ton of movies and stories. And he picks up like a mysterious, terrified woman who's just hitchhiking naked but for a trench coat on the street on a deserted road. She gets killed shortly after, and this is sort of the beginning of what draws Mike Hammer into figuring out what this conspiracy is. Like, what's going on that caused this event to happen? He himself is a private detective, a penny ante private detective who sounds like a sleazeball because he's just setting up couples to be recorded cheating on each other and playing off of each other. But he drops all of that because he thinks there might be a real payoff if he follows what happened to this poor woman. And so he's led into this sort of shadowy underworld, learns that people are pursuing a mysterious object, picks up clues. Eventually, it's revealed to be a mysterious box. And while all this happens, there's gangsters, there's cops, there's people getting killed and dying. And it leads to what is, I think, an apocalyptic climax once the mystery is solved.
And not metaphorically apocalyptic.
No, not metaphorically.
Literally apocalyptic.
Yeah. It's a brutal movie. I think it's a very subversive movie. It's a Cold War movie. I think it's a classic example of a noir, but at the same time, it departs from all of the noir before it in really important ways that make it really a very different movie than most noirs.
Yeah. And in fact, like the apocalyptic elements of most noirs are entirely metaphorical, usually, you know, like usually they are, even if there's some conspiracy, it's still a conspiracy that is among men and that won't lead to the end of the world. And this one just kind of ramps it up. And it's almost a surprise. Like I watched it with Eliza and she had never seen it. And that kind of like took her off guard. Wait, I didn't realize like when they first go and he opens it up the box in a scene that would be paid homage to multiple times over the years, and you just get this like, you know, it's like atomic, and then all of a sudden we have the Manhattan Project and Los Alamos and Trinity, and it's just like, whoa, what? This was a seedy, cool, weird noir, but I didn't realize the stakes were this.
Yeah. It's so, oh my God, it's so good in that way. I like what you said. Most of the time, the apocalyptic tone is metaphorical, or at least limited to like the end of the world for a character, like in Sunset Boulevard, where you know he's done with. Like his world is over, right? Not the world.
And an era of film is over, you know, like, but not the world.
Right. So along with your Liza story, that's kind of what happened to me. So I remember just trying to work my way through lists I would just constantly be looking up lists of top noir films. And, you know, you get I had to work my way through all of the like regular sort of ones. And then for some reason, this one was hard to find. Like it wasn't on streaming. And so I didn't watch it for a while, even though I kept seeing the name. When I think I pirated it. I'm watching it knowing nothing about it. And when he opens the box, I'm like, what the fuck just happened, right? And then by the time it ends and the way that it ends, I was like, this is the best shit I've ever seen. This took my love of noir and then just upped it to be a love of this fucking whatever this was.
No, in that way, I think it kind of rises above. Not that, like, you know, The Maltese Falcon and The Big Sleep, those are great movies, but like,
and they're quintessential. They're quintessential movies in a way that this one is not.
This isn't. That's why I was thinking it might be the first neo-noir in that it's not just going to be those tropes, although those tropes will be in it, but it's almost like it has grander ambitions, but that makes it sound, I think, a little too pretentious. Like it really pulls off this, because it's the stakes are at the same time. This is what I love about this movie. They're global, literally, like it's probably the end of the world at the end of this movie. But then also, you could also just read it as an plumbing of the depths of a single person. Like it is like a psychic quest of this guy, Mike Hammer. Like, so it has both these internal, external elements that are seamlessly integrated to the point where you see both at the same time. It's like mythic, but at the same time, very like Freudian also, you know, like it's great and it's dreamy. It has like these science fiction genre like elements too, which is really cool.
Yeah, it breaks into a kind of movie that had never been seen before and that has been imitated quite a bit, right? It does turn into a science fiction movie.
But then you realize, oh, wait, it's always had that a little bit, because even when it's being a normal noir, there's an answering machine in 1955 on this reel-to-reel and this disembodied voice that says, you know, if you would like to leave a record of your call, please, you know. And so like when I watched it again, I was struck that some of these elements are still kind of there. You just don't, without that lens, you don't look at it that way.
Yeah. And movies like Blade Runner are just sort of like this, but, you know, multiplied by 10 or whatever.
Yeah. And I think like David Lynch took so much influence from this movie. Like the end of Lost Highway and the end of this, both beach houses that are exploding with fire, that both, again, has this like larger message, but it's also just a single person. And I think so many, I mean, like The Box, you have Pulp Fiction, you have Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Tarantino just in general took from this film like so much. But yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, like the crazy sounds of the opening of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my understanding is that Bazzarides wrote this like super fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a great example of art coming out of an artist without that much thought. It was just in him, but there's so much there to unpack.
Yeah.
That really was in him. He just might not have realized.
I think that's right. Like I think I came across the same quote that you came across, which is, you know, everyone's saying like this has these mythic themes, these grand themes about, you know, communism, the end of the world, McCarthyism, like and he's like, you know, he said, I was having fun with it. I just wanted every scene to be interesting and all the characters to be interesting. And that's the thing I think is what blows me away about this movie. It's like there's never a boring moment in the movie. No. It's like everything is always keeping you a little off kilter. Like in the weeds of the plot, he goes to see somebody who witnessed this character named Kowalski's car accident. And,
you mean the truck driver?
Yeah, the truck driver. It's
I love that.
The Strother Martin character. And it's just at this family dinner table. There's like it's like this like cliched 50s family dinner table, like two kids, the wife, and he's at the table just describing what happened. And there's this just like the whole scene is like this very slow zoom. And at some point you realize that the daughter is just looking at her dad while he's describing what happened, just looking at him like fascinated, like appalled, weird, and it just keeps zooming in slowly, and it's just like so cool. But it's like, you know, it's an otherwise maybe unremarkable scene in terms of like the plot. It's just so cool. It just unsettles you so much. Like you feel the guy's like anxiety about telling the story.
I'm so glad you brought up that scene because I think it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. And like you said, you're in the weeds. It's like, you're like, wait, who was this guy again?
Yeah.
You know, he starts telling the story. His performance, I didn't know the name of the actor.
Famous actor from this time, Cool Hand Luke. He's the guy who says failure to communicate.
Oh, that's that guy?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, just, he delivers, like, to me, an Oscar-worthy performance of a man who is feeling an enormous amount of guilt for what happened, maybe feels a little responsible, in front of his family feels shame, and is like taking this opportunity to like clear his name. He's looking like whenever he says, pushed. And he looks around like at his family to make sure that they understand that this wasn't his fault. Like,
it's like they're interrogating him. Like, it's like, that's the way it's played. And the girl is looking at like a cop, you know, like a silent, like detective.
And he's nervously pouring a beer to Mike Hammer. It's so good.
You're never comfortable in this movie. No. Even though it's a thoroughly entertaining movie, it's just always something a little off, and I think that works so well. Okay, let me toss something out at you thematically, which I didn't get at first, but once it was pointed out, I could see it on the rewatch. So some people think of it as, I came across something in doing a little research that I did about it, that it has like queer cinema elements to it.
Oh. Well, I guess the websites you visit would be easy to find that. Yeah.
So, you know, you do wonder, he never shows any interest in a woman the entire movie, right? No. Like, they're always throwing themselves at him, and he just seems like he has absolutely just zero interest in any of them. But then there's just a couple, like, there's shots at one point that detective or the lieutenant who is trying to get him to talk. Yeah, he's like 1950s Guy Pearce looking guy. He comes over to the house to try to get answers, and that scene is bristling with homoerotic at least tension when you see it. Like when he's leaning against the door as the guy leaves, and they're both, I forget what the patter is, but like I was like, okay, maybe I could see that. And then there's like the black guy in the boxing rink just talking about how pretty his boxer is.
That I noticed.
Yeah, isn't he pretty? Doesn't he move pretty? None of the men are interested in women. Like at the gangsters that are hanging out protecting the head gangster, and then
they make it an explicitly telling us that they're not interested.
Yeah, dames. Like
dames.
They're worse than flies, you know? Mm-hmm. So like I feel like I wouldn't do this, but like you could do an interpretation of this as like his repressed like homosexuality. Like, he loves classical music. At the very least, he does come across as kind of impotent. Every time Velda is like explicitly trying to have sex with him, he always comes up with something, or there's a knock on the door or something like that. So you could see it as an internal investigation into like, and you could even see that maybe as the secret that's being searched for. I wouldn't want to do that. I think probably somebody has, but you could go a lot of different directions with this movie, I think.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, I did notice some of the things that you were talking about. He is indifferent. He's very indifferent. I mean, there's no romance in this movie, but maybe the very last scene where he runs to try to save Velda, like he finally shows some caring, some heart, because this Mike Hammer is like a fucking psychopath. And my understanding was that McSplain hated what was done to this Mike Hammer, but that Bazarides and Aldrich were expressing animus to the character and to that style of story. And they make him very unlikable. Like multiple times when he's committing acts of violence, they make it a point to show him smiling.
Yeah.
And that's not normally what, your private dick in a classic noir is usually like kind of charming and kind of likable, but just sort of, takes punches and when he has to give them out, he does it, but he still shake a fella's hand afterwards.
He'll slap a woman around, but then he'll also try to
he also wants to sleep with her.
Yeah, and has some interest maybe. And no, I agree. He's especially unlikable. There are exceptions to that. Like he seems like he's friends with all the black jazz musicians and the boxers and Nick Vavavoom. But he does get Vavavoom, no more Vavavoom. Yeah.
Your desire to make this into a gay movie made me think that the Vavavoom death scene actually could have been his lover, He was like sad. He was holding his hand crushed under the car. He's like, Nick.
Yeah, that's right.
Can we talk about the opening scene? Because this sort of sets the stage for our understanding of this character. But also, I don't know enough to know whether other movies had an opening similar to this, whether this is like biting someone's style. But it is like when I look at this opening scene, it is so iconic to me. Just like the running down the street barefoot woman, desperate, hailing down the cars. What a fucking great opening.
Unbelievable. I would say the first really like 15 minutes of this movie is just like breathtaking. Yeah. So you have her, this is like a cold open before the credits, her running and nobody, barefoot, like you said, in the dark. She's like panting and huffing and puffing and it sounds very sexual.
Yeah. And this is great because you know that this has been overdubbed, right? Obviously this has been overdubbed, but it works.
Yes.
Because like there's no ambient noise. You're hearing the patter of the feet and the pants, her panting.
Yep. And then she doesn't flag anybody down, so then she just throws herself in front of Mike Hammer's car, and that works, and she gets in. Then you have the credits, and the credits, first of all, like this is very cool, like it has a kind of Star Wars-y element of, but then also it's backwards.
It's backwards.
So you're like, wait, what the fuck? That's when you know I feel like that you're in for a great ride. And meanwhile, she's just panting over the entire credits, also to a song that
Nat King Cole.
Yeah, the I'd rather have the blues than what I got. That one.
The night is mighty chilly, and conversation seems pretty silly. I feel so mean and brought. I'd rather have the blues than what I've got. The room is dark and gloomy. You don't know what you're doing to me.
It really does sound like she's having sex when she's in the car. And then you're off to the races.
Immediately, you can tell that this guy has disdain for the woman and maybe for women in general.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's annoyed. he's not trying to be like Captain Save-A or whatever. He's not like, he's just sort of had to stop. She made him stop. And he's like, fine, get in. But he shows no like care for this woman.
No, that's right.
Cloris Leachman does a great job.
Yeah, I think you texted me. I never thought I'd want to have sex with Cloris Leachman.
I would never have texted you that, but sure.
What do you know her from?
God, I don't know. Mary Tyler Moore?
Yeah, like she used to play more matronly characters.
Yes, that's why. Like by the time I was a kid, like she was an old lady comedian.
Yeah, this was her first performance. So yeah, after the gas station, when they get captured, it's like, oh, this is a very another Lynchian thing. You see these headlights as they're talking in the back, just these headlights as they're driving at night. And she seems worried about it, but he doesn't. And then they get ambushed, and then it's just like this scene of like kind of unspeakable violence and torture. Dude. And like I
couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't believe it either. I was like, I didn't know you could do this in 1955. That scene is fucked up.
It's so fucked up, and such a good example of, something that great filmmakers have done, like Hitchcock, which is not showing everything, making the violence worse.
Absolutely.
So you see her feet hanging, and I remember watching it the first time and knowing something of the Hays Code, the censorship that was going on at the time, just being shocked that like they would allow, you're hearing her being tortured, and all you see is her feet dangling. So she must be hanging. And she must be hanging naked. And Mike Hammer is on the ground, so you only get his point of view.
Yeah.
And then the dialogue indicates something that I still didn't believe at first, which I know they can't have killed her. I thought that she was just passed out. And then the voice says, you try to revive her, you're going to be resurrecting her.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, that's fucking cool.
Who do you think you are? That's where like that you can resurrect the dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, they've ramped this up. You don't see that in The Big Sleep or like just this real sadistic but also kind of almost otherworldly violence, even though they then just do the staged car crash.
Right. So they put him and her in the car. I assumed they thought this was going to kill him too.
Yeah, but it didn't. Another interesting thing, and we're not going to go through the whole movie, or at least we are going to try not to.
We try not to.
But Christina, who is Cloris Leachman, who he picks up off the road, just after she calms down, she's escaped from a mental institution. She immediately knows what he's about. Like, just immediately sizes him up and is just like, you have one love in your life, and that's you. And he just kind of takes it, and he's like, you never give in a relationship, only take, which you see with Velda. It's just so good. Like, and I feel like everybody sizes him up in this movie so quickly.
But she is almost like an oracle in that moment.
Yes, exactly. And there is something a little mystical about that character in general. Like the way she tells him of where the box is through like poetry of this poet that she was named after. So very, very cool.
Yeah. So Mike is actually out for 3 days in the hospital, and we get something I meant to mention before. There is a lot of sort of biblical talk in the movie, especially by who we learn to be the main antagonist, but also, allusions to mythology. So when he wakes up after 3 days, they make reference to him being like, resurrecting like Lazarus from the grave. When you're considered dead, you're almost dead, you maybe would take stock of your life, but this doesn't change him at all. It's like, normally this would be a mystical experience for somebody to undergo. And he's just right back to being Mike Hammer.
I also think you could definitely interpret the movie starting then. You could see it as his dying death dream.
Yeah.
At this point, because the way it's shot also is so dreamy and surreal. Yeah. Biblical references, Lot's wife at the end is referred to, obviously Pandora and Pandora's box.
You get the dog from hell. What's the name of the three-headed dog?
Yeah, all that dialogue is so good at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It is. There are so many just explicitly mythic elements to it, but at the same time, like you said, he doesn't seem to learn anything from it except, okay, there's this big thing that I have to find out right now. It could the what's it,
the big what's it,
and he like that's the thing that drives him. But he seems like he's just the same asshole he was before, except for one thing, and I wanted to ask you about this. There's a really interesting scene where we first meet Nick Vavavoom, It's so funny because if he was Mexican, that would be like the most offensive stereotype kind of performance that you could imagine.
Yeah.
But like,
he's Greek.
He's Greek,
and the screenwriter was Greek, so we're giving him a pass.
Yeah, right. So when Nick Vavavoom asks him, "Are you all right?" and he says, "I don't know, maybe not." You know, he talks about how being shit. And then I remember as I'm watching it with Eliza, I said, "What does that mean?" And then literally the next line in the movie is Nick saying, "Hey, Sammy, what does that mean?" Like, maybe not. I just thought that's so interesting. Like, that's like he does have a little brief period after the accident of like a kind of introspection, like an exist, like, I don't know if I'm okay right now. You know, like that's such a not in character thing for him to say, you would think.
You're totally right. I hadn't encoded, I mean, I obviously heard him say that, but I hadn't really encoded it in the context of the whole movie. That is like the brief glimpse. And then he goes right back. Like, and he goes right back. Like, clearly he is so pulled to whatever it is that's going on must be valuable, and he wants a piece of it. And the reason that he infers that it must be so valuable is that right after the hospital stay, he gets interrogated by like the feds, whatever, the interstate crime commission. And so that's when he's like, oh shit, we might be able to make some money off of this.
Yeah. And again, another scene where they just completely size him up. They say what a total scumbag he is and how he basically pimps out his partner to get dirt on guys.
And he pimps her out and records them to get dirt and kind of gets off on listening.
Yeah, totally.
Learn.
And it's like he says, "All right, you convinced me. I'm a real stinker." And then they say, "Open a window," as he leaves. You know, again, like I kind of think he might be dying or dead or at the very least like rotten. You know, like there's a kind of rot, and it's very cool. Like when he breaks into his apartment, and then you see this answering machine, which is just a bizarre thing for him to have at that time.
It's so cool, and you know his apartment is all nice, and he has that awesome tech of an answering machine. And one of the things that's sort of jarring is the juxtaposition between like the shit LA. We haven't even mentioned that this takes place in this very sort of dark, seedy part of LA in the 50s that really is a character in the movie.
It's iconic LA movie.
Yeah, but he's in his like fancy schmancy bachelor rich apartment with his fancy answering machine.
Yeah, I thought he was breaking into somebody else's house. Like I wouldn't think like a private investigator would have that nice a house. Yeah. It just immediately cuts to them kissing, and he does not seem like he enjoys it.
Like a slow, gentle kissing, like a weird...
no.
Uncomfortable.
As opposed to, this is where the lieutenant comes in, and he says, like, if you use your gun, you'll go to jail. I don't think you'll like it in jail. There's something going on in that scene. They really draw out that scene, and with Velda there as well.
Yeah.
And then he's so brutal to Velda in the scene. She had just been working on one of their scams with a married guy and got a recording, but they lost it somehow. So he just tells her to do it again. Give her some of that nice sincerity, he says.
Mr. Friendly. Yeah. And this is where we find out that Mike seems to enjoy listening.
Yeah.
Listening to these tapes.
Right, because the guy.
Yeah.
He likes hearing the guy.
Right, because he could hear her whenever he wants. Yeah. So another thing that's sort of like an interesting subversion of the tropes is that what you were saying, Pat comes in and says, hey, we're revoking your private investigator license and your gun. So throughout the whole movie, he's not allowed to even carry a gun.
Right. Impotence.
I
know we're not supposed to go through the movie, so let me just throw out this scene as a kind of a fascinating example of what's going on. He helps some porter, some guy who's apparently his job is to help people move in and out of a hotel. They have this conversation about moving in and moving out that I thought was so interesting. And he says, I only move in once and I've been into my body, and I move out when I die, is what the porter says. You know, I feel like there's always just this pregnant meaning to the dialogue that is just goes way above and beyond what the plot mechanics call for.
Yeah. When he helped him with a big thing he had on his back, the chest, he realized that he was being helped, and he thought, oh, maybe I was getting stronger. But he gives this thing about how to lift heavy things, you need to take deep breaths. And Mike Hammer was his deep breath. And that's why he gives him the information. And so actually to the plot, one of the things, like, so the reason that he's there is because that was the address of Christina,
right,
who died. But none of the initial insight that sort of breaks open the case for him to start, none of that comes from Mike Hammer. It all comes from Velda. And Mike Hammer, in his conversation with the cop, is like perfectly fine taking credit for having figured this stuff out. But really, it was Velda doing the investigation while he was in the hospital. So this is another thing about Mike Hammer is most of what he does is not really contributing to solving the case. Velda's doing a lot of the work.
The Guy Pearce guy says, you've always had a good nose. Yeah, you're right. And it's completely Velda doing it. And then as he leaves, he sends her back to like fuck another Mark.
It's okay. Here, I want a little meta talk about the performances, because I was mentioning to you off air that I watched some people analyzing this movie and saying that while what's the actor, the
Ralph
Mike Hammer
Meeker
guy again? Ralph Meeker is
good.
Just unquestionably good, that they thought that a lot of the performances from the other actors were bad. And they specifically called out the Lily Carver, the Gabby actress, as being bad, almost like mocking her. And then, you have the Nick Vavavoom and whatever. So they were saying it's weirdly surrounded by bad acting. And it made me mad to hear people say this, because I couldn't disagree more. But like, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm completely on your side. I mean, you could maybe talk me into Nick Vavavoom, that actor, not being a great performance, but they're all highly stylized.
It's written over the top, for sure.
And like, I think it's the actors are there to give a mood, exactly. And they do that perfectly. Like Lily Carver is a great example. Gabby Rogers as Lily Carver. Yes, she has this kind of a voice that is like kind of whiny and anxious and very off-putting, but that's what the scene, that scene in the hotel room calls for.
Yep, she's in a bathrobe. There's no it's not a glamour. She's not your femme fatale who's seducing him.
It's a shitty hotel. The windows are open, so you get the sense that it's stiflingly hot in there. There's a lot of noise, and her voice just adds to that. But I think they're all doing what the movie calls for. Like that, they're part of just like the sound and the way it's shot and the music, like just a way of keeping you on edge a little bit.
Yeah, the Lily Carver character is just unsettling to me.
Yes.
That's what she's doing. She's doing a good job of acting as if she's confused and doesn't know what's going on, but also just the affect that she brings is really unsettling. Apparently, my understanding is the character was supposed to be lesbian, but of course they couldn't say back in the day. So she showed up to work with her hair chopped and like wearing a suit. And Robert Aldrich was like, "Oh, all right. Like, good dedication. That's some dedication."
This is about a repressed homosexual, so I'll just have the women look like men. As you get into like the middle of the movie, they start being very explicit that the thing that is being searched for is a secret, and that it's buried, and that some people don't want to know the secret. I mean, this is there from the start, but then it starts to be like emphasized over and over again. There's this scientist who was murdered that you find out about.
Yeah.
And he told the opera singer guy, right, I have a secret that's very important and also not important. And they tie the secret with this like deep existential sadness too that this scientist had. And so there, I think, is where the movie is at its like, I don't know, like thematic core. It's like plumbing the depths of terrible secrets that we all have. Maybe that like man has as a whole, maybe that Mike Hammer has, and they keep talking about it. It's hidden away where they can't find it.
And do you really want to, like, what will be the costs of you finding out what
the secret is? They start, talking in those terms. And you can see Mike Hammer start to kind of lose a little confidence the more they talk about the secret and the importance of the secret and the like how deeply hidden it is. So this is where I feel like this is about repression in some sense. I know, like it doesn't have to be homosexuality. It could be like a national repression, a repression at like of America and what America is all about. But it does seem like that is evoked the more they talk about like this secret and they talk about the great what's it, you know?
Yeah, that's important and not important.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Like I hadn't thought about repression, but that makes sense. I was really intrigued by Carmen, the opera singer's description of Raimondo, the scientist, because he does say he was always sad. And when he asked him, like, what about? It was sad about the way the world is. You cannot shake. I mean, a lot of noir is this post-World War II emotional slump that our country seemed to be in. Like, while we were in an economic boom that led to like the baby boom and everybody having, a house with a white picket fence, this movie is showing you like the despair at the heart of it all. Like there is nothing there. And so the depression about the way the world is, about the post-atomic, like the atomic world they're living in. And while Mike is in this beautiful apartment, everywhere else surrounding him is the seediest area of LA. In fact, it was so bad that after this movie was shot, it all got torn down. Like all that part of LA doesn't exist. We have some of it now. Yeah. Like we have the Angel flight stairs from the movie and the little trams, little trolleys that go up.
Oh yeah, that's so
But
cool,
everything else, that Bunker Hill area, it was built by rich people way back in the day and just got taken over. Seedy, like crime, danger.
Yeah, I think this is, I was thinking my favorite noir era. And as much as I love like 40s, like late 30s and 40s noir, I do kind of think like 50s is when it hits its peak because there is this kind of superficial optimism and, the nuclear family, the two kids and the, like you said, the white picket fence.
And think about what Mike Hammer is doing. He's taking those couples in these like suburban, nice boomer couples, and he's fucking like setting them up to get divorced by having them fall temptation of like normal human just base impulses to fuck other people.
That's right. And also like the McCarthyism, like there's all this stuff that's going on, but there's also this picture of just everything's good now. We're, like we're the empire.
Yeah, we won. We beat the Nazis. Where everybody has a job.
Yeah.
But as I was reading part of the issue when men came back from the war was that women had entered the workforce en masse and there was actually less for them to do. So a lot of them just became drunks or criminals.
They get alienated. They're purposeless. This thing gives him a purpose. And elevates him. Like he says to Velda at one point, we're not doing this nickel and dime stuff anymore.
Yeah, no more penny ante detective.
Yeah, and then she says, and it's all, again, it's so like resonant, the stuff like, oh, you just want to chase after the big what's it. And he's like, I want to find the people who killed Nick. And she, again, just totally has his number. Like that's an excuse to chase the big what's it.
Yeah, she says, how nicely it justifies your quest for the great what's it.
Yeah.
And then she kicks him out. Yeah.
Well, he does tell her though to go sleep with some doctor to get information.
That's right.
And he was going to meet her at that bar, I think, where he gets drunk. But again, doesn't do shit until somebody wakes him up after his drunken stupor to say, like even though he was supposed to meet her, he still doesn't ask any questions. Why isn't she here? He just gets shit. Yeah. He is kind of worthless, like once
he's worthless,
said
and
that,
he's pimping her out.
Yeah.
Like he's just pimping her out. And you can see her heart is broken when she's like, is that what you really want? Do you want me to date him? Date being, I guess, a euphemism here.
Yeah, no, that's right. And your point about her actually always getting all the information is totally true. She's the one that finds out everything, and he has to be led around.
There's another thing is like it took him a while to figure out that he should maybe investigate who she sent the letter to, who Christina sent the letter to. Yeah. Like he's not a very good detective, but he finally figures out, oh, maybe I should see where the letter went, and finds out that the letter was addressed to him. And so he has to go read his mail.
Yeah. And when he comes back to, I guess it's his place or is it Velda's place?
Like, I think it was his office. I was really trying to figure this out.
He just doesn't notice all these people That's another very much like not a normal noir protagonist.
Right.
Like they know if there are people, they can smell if people are in their office. And he's just looking at the letter, and you just see these guys, and they're almost like surprised themselves that it takes him so long. They have to like say, hello, Mike, or whatever, just to alert him that there's 5 men in his small office, and also the dog that's usually there, which is another weird touch, is not there anymore. Just the dog bed.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they take him and they give him like sodium pentothal so that his subconscious will find the answer to what it means. Yeah. I remember. This is where it gets very much, I feel like, about maybe repression. Like you have to go to your subconscious to figure out what it is that you're searching for. In this case, it's what is he supposed to remember? Yeah, it gets very almost abstract then.
Yeah. Did we pass over when he goes to the gangster's pool party?
I mean, I think I mentioned it, but briefly. Okay. But yeah, you want to talk about it?
I only want to talk about it because, like, one, I love the performance of Carl, whatever his name is, Lavella, like the smooth gangster. But also because of the woman, Friday, who, like, the minute, and you said you had a theory about this. The minute he drives up to this gangster's beautiful house somewhere, out in the Hollywood Hills, probably. And the minute he walks out of his car, some attractive blonde is on his arm, and they start making out right away. It turns out it's the half sister of the gangster. Yeah. But I was like, that's the one part of the movie that I was like, was that necessary? Like, I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, my theory was, I said that half jokingly, is like, there's all these women throwing themselves at him, and he has no interest.
Right. So that was like a glaring
it's just
example.
Another example of that. And she kind of sets him up too, by sending him to get changed into a swimsuit so he can get all wet. But then, all he does is like knock out one gangster, I guess, and then...
Yeah, like brutally, but we don't see it.
We don't know what happened.
So much so that the other guy runs.
The other guy just looks like, like he has like almost metaphysically disturbed by what happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. It's a deeply metaphysical movie, and but that wins him the favor of that gangster. But then he tries to take it too far. He tries to get too much money.
Yeah, selfish to the core. Yeah, and that turns off the gangster who immediately turns on him the minute he says let's negotiate whatever the price is. He's like, oh, okay. Well, then guess what?
That's it.
Offer rescinded.
Yeah. The key also is another Lynchian thing that he, it's essentially Mulholland Drive at one point with the key to the box also. Yeah. And they find it, and the scene with the guy who works at the morgue who found the key, I guess she had ingested it. The what do you call the people at who work at morgues?
The medical examiner.
The medical examiner. Yeah. Quincy. This has a key, and he says, but whatever it is, it's locked away, and I don't want it. That's a very, a lot of the lines are just so pregnant with meaning. It feels like.
I do love that scene because whoever that character actor is, as Mike is putting it together, that it's that it must be small. She must have ingested it. He's just looking at him and nodding as he's watching him figure it out. It's great.
Yeah, it's like watching a kid try to do long division in their head or something.
Yeah, but then so he tries to get something from Mike Hammer. He's like, look, whatever is in there is clearly valuable, but I want nothing to do with it because I'd have to fence it. So just give me my share of the money now. So Hammer tries to pay him off, but it's not enough. So he does one of the most brutal things. There's two really brutal things. One is when he breaks the poor guy's record, the poor opera guy's record.
Yeah.
The other one where he just cold-blooded slams this guy's hand into the drawer as he's reaching for it.
And he smiles, and it's another cut to his smile.
Smiling.
He's smiling as he does it. That he has this kind of sadism. I actually think about the record he felt bad about afterwards. To the extent that he ever felt remorse, it seemed like he might have felt it for the record. But there's no remorse at all.
No, because the record didn't deserve it.
Yeah. So I just, before we could get to the last scene, but I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, obviously it's the bomb, and you could look at it as this, oh, we have created the thing that's going to destroy us, and we can't handle that we're capable of doing something like that. And then for Mike Hammer, I think it could be like the secret that he's a bad man with no purpose. And that he is learning that, because so many people are telling him, if I was going to do this is a death dream movie, it does seem like a lot of things just kind of gravitate back to that. And even the scene that you're talking about, the slamming the drawer on the guy's fingers and smiling about it, you could say, well, this guy was trying to shake him down. And so that's why he's doing it. He's giving the guy what he deserved. But he had just done that exact same thing to the gangster. Tried to shake down the gangster, and the gangster told him to fuck off. So it's like he knows he's no better. And now he's just punishing this guy. But that's also like maybe in some sense punishing himself, because he's just doing what I did and what I've done my whole life. And so, I think that's something that is also underneath the surface, but not really, because it's so much on the surface, is him getting told and confronting the fact that he's a terrible person, which is another reason why Mickey Spillane might not have loved it.
Yeah, I like that. There is, and this isn't inconsistent with what you're saying, but thinking about what the secret is just in our conversation here, because I hadn't really thought about the symbolism. Another reading for me is that the secret is that humanity is rotten to the core.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone's trying to hide it. And that's why Raimondo, the engineer scientist, was so depressed. And that's why the, feds and the cops don't want anybody to open it. And the moment it gets open, it's just will reveal that we don't deserve to live. Like, we're that rotten.
Yeah, exactly. That humanity is in some sense just Mike Hammer, just selfish, destructive, will destroy a lot of innocent lives in their quest for purpose, which they don't even know what it is. It's just a what's it. And, who am I to argue with that?
There's a few things, there's just some things that I wanted to mention. One is when he goes to, this isn't deep, this is just funny. When he goes to the artist's house, so Velda had said that the artist was William Mist that she met at the bar who had given him the names. He goes and finds him. And the guy, his strategy for not getting interrogated by Mike Hammer is to just down a bottle of sleeping drugs, which I thought was actually pretty clever, because by the time Mike gets around to trying to rough him up, he's just snoring.
Yeah. And his first attempt at the sleeping pills were prescribed to him by Soberin. This is another kind of lucky breaks that he gets. He gets the information from the pill bottle, but even then, you hear Velda's voice in his head say to him, it's Dr. Soberin, so even then, Velda is the one that's actually making the connection and solving it.
She's done it all. That's right. Yeah. Sort of like in her spare time while she's being pimped out to fuck these husbands.
Yeah. So first he goes to the bus station, or not the bus station. Where's the locker that has the box?
It's like at a club.
Right. It's at a club. And he opens it, but doesn't really look inside, sees that it's glowing and it has that energy, right? And then how does it happen that he now then talks to the lieutenant?
So he went to the country club or whatever it was with Lily in the car. And opens it, gets burned by that glow, comes out, and Lily's gone.
Yeah.
So he drives over to his apartment, and the cops are there.
That's right.
And Pat, the lieutenant, his friend, asks him for the key because he spoke to the doc, and he knows that Mike Hammer has the key that they found in the body.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when he's still being cagey about it, the lieutenant says, I'm going to pronounce some words, harmless words, just a bunch of letters scrambled together. Manhattan Project, Los Alamos, Trinity, right? Everything is cryptic. Just the way he says that, right? Words, harmless words, just a bunch of letters scrambled together.
But their meaning is important. Try to understand what they mean. And it's like, I couldn't tell if he was being something condescending or what.
But it sounds like an oracle.
Yeah, exactly.
And so again, you have this kind of mythic element to just what is an just a lieutenant talking to a guy. And Mike Hammer for the first time kind of gets it. He's just like, holy shit. And he says, I didn't know.
Yeah, that's the most sincere thing that he said in the whole movie. Yeah. I didn't know.
And the lieutenant says to him, would anything have changed if you did? Again, saying you are always going to be looking out for you. And maybe this is the end of the world that you caused or you could have caused, but think of all the lives, all the people that have been killed because of you,
Yeah. When they say, what do we do with him? He says, let him go to hell.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the final scene. It's back at the beach. Right. It's at the beach house. He's been there briefly before.
Yeah, with the sodium pentothal.
Yeah, with the sodium pentothal. Yeah. It's very kind of iconic LA, Malibu or something, somewhere.
Yeah, it's totally Malibu. Yeah.
And it's interesting. So here's where you see, if you hadn't noticed this already, that Lily Carver is actually working for Soberin. They have a scene which is very noir, I don't know, asphalt jungle kind of noir. It's actually fairly seedy. She seems like she's his mistress. He seems like a kind of like a gangster of some kind. But then it immediately just levels up. She keeps asking, what's in the box? What's in the box? And he says, he starts talking about Pandora.
He says, good thing you didn't open it. Have you ever heard of Lot's wife? And then he calls it in the box is the head of Medusa. It would have been Pandora's box. Good thing you didn't open it. And she's like, well, I want half. And he says, well, you deserve half for all the creature comforts.
Yes.
Which implies that she was fucking him. The lesbian woman had to fuck him just to get the spoils. And he's like, yeah, unfortunately, what's in there can't be split in half. right. And that's when she's like, well, fuck you, I'm taking the whole thing.
It's a very funny thing to say about an atom bomb, too.
Totally. I only thought of it as that came out of my mouth. He also says, where I'm going, it's not possible for you to go, which is actually just a paraphrase of a Jesus quote. When right before he's crucified, they're like, his disciples are like, we would follow you anywhere. And he knows he's going to die for 3 days and be risen. He's like, where I'm going, you can't follow me.
And where is he going? He says also there's something sad and melancholy about trips.
Yeah, I don't know where he would be going.
He's going to take it. Was he going to, I guess the implication is he was going to sell it.
Maybe as a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
To somebody highest bidder.
Yeah, it's totally not clear. And she shoots him like any good femme fatale would. She double crosses him to take all of the box. One interesting fact is that in the novel, it's like drugs. It's like heroin and cocaine, but that the censors wouldn't allow that. And so instead...
And didn't that turns it into a far superior movie? The inability to make it a drug plot made it into something so much more interesting.
Yeah. In fact, he there's a little meta commentary about that where she says, is it drugs or something? And he says, no, nothing so civilized. He's like, this is bigger than that. That seedy noir stuff is in the past.
Yeah. And almost nostalgic for when things would have been so innocent, they would have been drugs, humanity.
And that's what's funny about her doing just an absolutely classic femme fatale thing of saying, pulling out the gun really shockingly and saying, how about I take it all then? Yeah. It's always so much bigger than that, while at the same time just doing that.
Yeah. And when he's shot, he said, the last thing he says is, I'll tell you where to take it, but don't open the box.
Right.
And I don't know where she was supposed to take it I assume for a payoff. But what's great about this is it doesn't matter one lick.
No, no, we don't even know. He could have been doing it for good in his mind. Yeah. It could have been to try to destroy it or try to, I doubt it.
He's a doctor and he took the Hippocratic Oath. So
he's already violated that many times. No, he's done horrible, brutal things, but is he doing that to in the service of something that he considers good? Right. We have no idea. We'll never know. Nobody it's not. You don't even get any hints as to what he could possibly be doing with it. And then, of course, like Pandora, like Eve, like so many female kind of mythical characters,
Like dames in general.
Dames in general, they're like they're worse than flies. She has to find the secret knowledge. It is kind of interesting that it's almost always a woman that does that. When it comes to discovering like hidden knowledge, it's the woman.
Yeah. Prometheus, I guess, an exception.
Yeah, and with the woman, it's more like they need to learn the secret. Like, I have to eat from the tree of knowledge. I have to know what's in the box. I have to.
Lot's wife had to turn and look.
Yeah.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Curiosity killed the dame.
And the dame. I wanted to ask you when whatever her name is now, Lily Gabrielle, is now pointing the gun at Mike Hammer. She says, "Kiss me."
Yeah.
The liar's kiss that says "I love you" but means something else.
A liar's kiss.
Yeah. The gay boy's kiss is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe. She's like, look, let's just both admit that we're gay. Like, so as we both move in to kiss each other, I'm just gonna shoot you because I don't want you. You don't want me.
But what were you really gonna ask?
Yeah, what I was gonna say is like, what is she saying there? Is she, because one reading is that she's just trying to use her feminine wiles to like bring him in to like kill him, but she could have just shot him right there. Like, I don't know why she's...
Yeah. It's maybe the last example of someone like exposing how rotten he is, but she's just as rotten. And so like there would be something fitting if either of them were attracted to the opposite sex, there would be something fitting about them kissing, because they're kind of in the most rotten characters. Also, both in kind of over their heads. They're interested in like making money and like being a part of something big, but they don't get what the stakes really are. In that way, they're kind of perfectly matched. So in the original cut, she can't help herself. She's shot him. We think maybe he's dead. She can't help herself. She starts to open the box, and immediately, like, there's fire around her. There's like a glow, and
she catches fire. Yeah, and you're getting those like voices, like banshee voices from hell.
So cool, and so copied.
I couldn't find how they did that. Like, I was curious to know what went into that sound. But very Raiders of the Lost Ark, melting face.
Totally.
Yeah.
And he stumbles out to rescue Velda, who's also in the house.
Yeah. He's like calling out for her. And I don't know if you sense this, but for the first time, it felt like he did really want Velda. He really does love her in some way.
Yeah. You could think of him as having been a little changed once the lieutenant pronounced those words, as he puts it.
Yeah.
And like, I guess in the original cut, that was pretty much like the way this movie was seen until the 90s, 80s or 90s.
Yeah, 97, I think.
Yeah.
So before you say that, I wanted to know, I couldn't get a sense, is what happened that in the theater, the cut was shown that we now have, and then it was lost sort of to time? Or did nobody in the theater see the cut that we now have?
That's what I thought, but I don't actually know. It could also make sense that the original cut was what we have. And then it was, it wasn't a very successful movie at the time. No. Like the French, like Truffaut loved it.
Yeah. That's something we didn't say about noir to begin with. Yeah. Is like they defined what noir was.
And they recognized the artistry behind it. And whereas I think American critics thought this didn't even get reviewed in the Times, which seems crazy because it's just about its time more than any movie like has been, but like people thought it was a pulpy noir thing. You don't review that in the New York Times. And the French were like, no, this is art. Like Hitchcock, they were big in promoting, and they were also very influenced by this movie. So I actually don't know the answer. But I guess in some cut that until they found this other version, he doesn't make it out of the house. The house explodes. It's much shorter. It's not. And that's the end of the movie. But in the restored cut, in the Criterion cut that we both saw, and I think just the one that's been seen since 1997 in whatever form you saw it, he gets out with Velda, takes her out, and it's a long extended scene, and you see the house in the background just exploding, and the explosion getting more and more dazzling and terrifying.
It's like growing.
And they make it into the water. It is heavily implied, I think, that them making it out to the water is not going to save them. Because,
no, totally. I have a take on this too. So I think that's right. I think it's heavily implied that explosion is going to continue.
Yeah. And,
and perhaps engulf the world.
I think so.
But at the very least, their world is over. Like their life is over.
LA is over.
Yeah. But when he's at the beach house originally, when he first gets taken there before he gets tied up face down to do the sodium pentothal, he tries to escape. He runs through this to the sand and into the water. And that gives you a sense of how useless it is to try to run away in sand and water.
Yes.
Like there's just no, like you can't run through sand and expect that you're going to make progress.
You're going to just be spread eagled with your wrist tied.
And what are you going to do when you get in the water? Nothing. So that I think sets the stage nicely for knowing that like there's nothing good will come of them running into the water. But just in a deeper sense, like this movie seemed so existential to me that I was reading it as the end of humanity and humanity sort of crawling back into the ocean, like devolving, like we came from out of the ocean, we're going back in and we're going to turn into the primordial ooze. Like we don't deserve what we have.
I like that. Yes, we're slinking back in from whence we came, back into the ocean. We have devolved because we're just such selfish, shitty creatures that we couldn't help but destroy the world. Yeah. I like that a lot. And I think that's, in that sense, it's really at the heart of that kind of really bleak, like blacker than black 50s kind of noir. I think Touch of Evil, less cosmically on the surface, has that same just, we are rotten, we're irredeemable.
Just nihilistic.
Yeah, it's pure just black nihilism. And and I think it's sobering. I think maybe The Doctor is a reference to that.
So I don't know what your take is, but I would say noir is generally pessimistic and this is just nihilistic. Like it's always pessimistic about human nature, but this one hits like a level of nihilism that rattled me more than usual.
There's a kind of self-loathing, again, both on the part maybe of the character, a self-loathing, and then also just a humanity loathing element to it. There's, maybe Nick Vavavoom is a sympathetic character, but even he, like when Mike Hammer offers him the car and then his friend says, you better be careful, watch out. And he's like, you just go back to your small time, whatever. Yeah. I'll be driving around in my car. Vavavoom. And he gets like an evil look on his face.
You know what he looks like when it's a weird shot that's just he's looking out into the middle distance like, oh, va-va-voom. It reminds me of in Pulp Fiction when Marcellus is getting raped. The other guy is watching.
Yeah.
Do you remember? And the other guy's like,
he has that same expression as he's imagining himself in the car. Again, he's another example of just someone who doesn't understand what the stakes are, and so he thinks, oh, I'm going to get a car out of this, and instead he gets a car.
He does get a car. Aw, poor Nick.
No more va-va-voom.
Velda, I guess, is the best example of a good person, right? I mean, but she's still complicit in this business of seducing and blackmailing, essentially, or extorting couples.
Yeah. And she has inexplicable tastes in Mike Hammer, too, because he treats her like absolute garbage. He doesn't seem like he can get it up.
Mike, the limp Hammer.
Yeah. No va-va-voom for Mike Hammer.
Can I just say the last thing, that when the end title card comes on, the timing is so good. The house is on fire. They make it into the water. The end.
Yeah.
No credits. Like just the end. It's jarring.
Totally. Their expressions also as they're looking, it's like, it's like the horror.
Totally.
It's, this movie has a bit of an Apocalypse Now kind of vibe to it. Totally different kinds of movies, but similar sensibility, similar kind of surreal journey into the
journey
darkness.
into the center of something.
Into the center of like evil, like humanity's evil.
Yeah. This movie, some people call it horror. and I don't think they're far off. I mean, it's cosmic horror in some sense, but God, what else can you say? Obviously, this movie influenced a shit ton of movies. Like, I don't know, like the French called him Le Gros Bob because like of his how awesome they thought he was. And it is like, just as a sort of sociology, like it's super interesting that a movie like this, like you said, wasn't critically acclaimed or anything, that it would be a movie that influenced so much.
Yeah.
That's what I love about shit like
Totally.
this. It's just, you never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, this movie is going to be hard to top, although there are so many great movies in this genre. Should we decide on the next one? We mentioned Touch of Evil, Sunset Boulevard.
I want to give it some thought.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, we will come up with something. Join us next time on the As Yet Unnamed, although you seemed like you were leaning towards the Noirinators. Join us next time. Thanks, everybody.